Hello, I am Taylor. I am the LGBTQ Allyships Program and Development Manager. I use they, them pronouns, and I am here to give you some information around Seattle worker rights, specifically Seattle. We are an organization that does worker rights and renters' rights for those that work in the industry. And so, or live in the Seattle area. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We are going to do Power Up September. And this is the worker rights for LGBTQ rights and why that's important. Pardon me. So first, I want to always take a moment to acknowledge that we are on traditional lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. To learn more about them or to help them through their process, please consider signing the federal recognition and consider paying rent. And we invite you to visit their realrentduwamish.org in support. Thank you. I've had a cold, so I would normally ask if there's any questions. And if you do have questions, you can always let us know at LGBTQ Allyship. And you can send me an email personally to taylor@allyship.org. And we're happy to answer questions, help you connect with who you need to connect with, or help you with the process of dispute. So the first thing here is to ask, why is it important, labor standards important to LGBTQ members? Well, one of the main reasons is hiring challenges. We have a tendency to see that LGBTQIA employees report, 21% of them are reporting that they've been discriminated against a hiring process during promotions and have been given unequal pay for the same amount of work. And we also know, additionally, that the BIPOC community and LGBTQ plus folks report that they're living paycheck to paycheck and in Seattle and King County. So it is important to know if your wages are being completely paid to you, if you are not getting the right the right contract, or being called in a contract, or being paid for the work that you're actually doing, and getting all your benefits that you are working for. So you're entitled to all of those things, and you're entitled to a living wage. So who are protected class members? We are part of that protective class. So in the hiring process, we are the protected class. We are, those that are protected classes are race and color, people of different race and color. If you are living with HIV or AIDS or hepatitis C status, your sexual orientation, including gender identity in Seattle. If you are of age 40 plus, you are a protected class. Marital status, parental status, those are all protected class. And I also want to say that presentation of any sensory, mental, or physical disabilities are protected class in Seattle. So if you feel that you have been fired or put on probation, or you have been not hired due to your protected class, you want to make sure that you are addressing that and you can report it. And we have access to who you want to report that to. So let's talk about some of the laws. So one of the protected classes I want to talk about is those that, well, not a protected class, but the use of criminal history on a resume is not allowed. So this is called the Fair Chance Ordinance. It regulates the use of criminal history in employment decisions. It reduces racial disparities in the criminal justice system and strengthens our communities. Job ads cannot exclude applicants based on convictions or arrest records. It prohibits criminal background checks for criminal history, questions on job applications that relate to criminal history. The only time that an employer is allowed to ask you about any possible criminal history is after you've gone through all the process and they are ready to hire you, and they give you part of the process of hiring. If it requires a legitimate business reason to deny you the job based on the conviction, that is when it's only okay. So let's say you did fraud and you are applying for a bank, then they may ask you if you were convicted for a fraud for that service, or fraud for stealing money or fraudulence. And that's when it would be legitimate not to hire you for a bank. That could be one. And otherwise, and a lot of other ones would be around schools and stuff, but for the service industry, food prep and food handler type service industry, there's little reasons why there would be a legitimate denial of a job for a convicted record. So you'll want to make sure that those questions are not ever on the resumes and that they don't ask you during interview process. Pardon me. So minimum wage. The minimum wage in Seattle as of 2022 is for the larger employees, and this means employers that have over 500 employees, and if they have over 500 employees, you get paid $17.27. If you're you work for a smaller employee, such or employer that has 500 or less employees, then it depends. It depends on if the employee is paying for an hour towards, or $1.52 an hour towards your medical benefits, and or your employee, if your employer is paying $1.52 an hour in tips. So if that is a yes, then they're paying you for the hours that you work at $15.75. If it is no, they're not giving you additional money, such as the $1.52 to either medical benefits or in tips, then it is $17.27. So no matter what, you should be receiving 1727 for the time that you're working, and may just come out for the smaller employers group with an additional $1.52 that's being added to the 1575, and that should show up on your pay stub. The state of Washington's minimum wage, so that was Seattle's minimum wage. I just want to be clear, because the state of Washington's minimum wage is $14.49 an hour, and SeaTac is $17.53 an hour. All right. So why is that? Why are these things important? You know, we're talking about these two different laws right now. We've talked about the fair chance and minimum wage. We want you to make sure that you're getting from the get-go, that you're not being asked about criminal history, and you're getting your wages, right? So that leads to your paid sick and safe time. So now you're working and you need some time off. And why do you need that time off? And you should be getting that time off from the moment that you get hired. It starts. You start accumulating paid sick and safe time. You might see it as PTO. You might see it as SST, which paid sick and safe time. And for those that are working 40 hours, 40-hour weeks, you're receiving 1 hour every time you put in 40 hours of work time. So if you're a part-time person, full-time person, temporary or seasonal work, when you accumulate 40 hours, you receive 1 hour of paid sick and safe time. And like I said, it starts from the minute that you clock in, but you may not be able to receive it until after 90 days. That depends on your employer. And once you start receiving it, you can use it for things such as caring for a family member, or taking care of yourself because you're ill, or you have a doctor's appointment, or you have a mental health or a dental appointment, or if your housemate or yourself experience of violence or sexual assault, you may need to help them or yourself. And so you get paid PTO, paid sick and safe time. Or let's say you do not have the mental health. If you need a mental health day, you do not have to tell your employer that you're taking a mental health day. You can say, I'm taking my PTO. I'm taking a day off. You're not required to inform them why you're taking the time off, but you will want to make sure that you can get coverage for your shift. If you're working in a restaurant and you're supposed to be working and you need a mental health day, or you're sick, you'll want to make sure that you can get your shift covered. And then you will want to find out how much paid sick and safe time you can accumulate. So you'll be able, in case you need it for longer, so you get COVID, you'll want to be able to use more of it. And where can you find that? You should be able to look on your pay stub, or if they don't put it on your pay stub, they have to provide it to you somewhere. So even if it's on a separate sheet. So you'll want to take a look and look for your PTO or sick or vacation, and it will tell you how many hours you've accumulated during the time that you've been working and how many you have used. If you've had to use it, it should show you that pay period when you used it. This is very important because we're going to talk about the next thing, which is wage theft. And what is wage theft? It's really basic. It's not getting paid for the minimum pay wage or tips or overtime that was promised to you. So if you were being paid the minimum wage, $17.47 isn't that what I said? Then let's say you're supposed to be getting paid $18 an hour, and you're actually only getting paid minimum wage. And they told you in writing that you were going to start at $18 an hour. That is wage theft if they are not giving you the amount that they told you. If they said, oh, what we really meant was minimum wage, and that is $17.47, then you will want to go back and say, look, you said $18. That's what you're supposed to be paying me. If you don't pay me that, that is wage theft. If you are working overtime and you don't get paid for the overtime, if you're promised tips and you don't get your tips, that's wage theft. Not being reimbursed for covering employee expenses, not getting paid breaks. So you're supposed to have a lunch break. You'll want to make sure that you get paid for that lunch break. Working off clock, say that your employer says, hey, the garbage didn't get taken out. I need you to take that out, but you've already clocked off. You'll want to make sure that you clock back on, even if it's just going to take 5 minutes. You get clocked on for those 5 minutes and then take the garbage out and then clock off. If your employer is like, you don't need to clock back on, then you don't need to take out the trash. That's the answer for that. You do not want to have, I'm sorry, the Seattle's, the important reason to put in your know about wage theft is because it has happened. People don't get paid for their insurance, holiday pay, or sick pay when they've taken it because they've been, or else they have it classified as an independent contractor instead of what they're really supposed to be doing. And those are all different ways of being put into a wage theft area. And that is the most common, one of the most common complaints. So it is important to report those things. And if you need help reporting, you're welcome to contact us. You're welcome to contact Fair Work Center. They also do that and work in Washington. So in reporting, I have statistics here where, not statistics, they're facts, that the fair chance employment, remember the whole making sure that you are not being asked about your criminal history as an employee applying for a position. There were in 2021, 2 people that were workers were affected, and they were compensated for that because it's against the law to have that happen. And in wage theft, so that seems small, right, in 1 year, but wage theft, as I said earlier, is the largest complaint. And we don't know if the other ones have just not being reported, but we do know wage theft has been reported. In 2021, 468 workers were affected. And that is a lot of people having part of their wage removed from their paycheck. And again, many of us live paycheck to paycheck, and we're also being underpaid for our work. So you'll want to make sure that you're checking your pay stubs and making sure you're getting the right pay. For filing a complaint, there's some things that you can do, and that is reaching out to the Seattle Office of Labor Standards if you feel that your rights have been violated. If you're worried about having to talk to someone or give your name, you can call or email them anonymously. If you want, you can make sure you know that your rights are, and you'll want to keep a record of what issues are happening. so that you can report that file and make that filed complaint. And once you file the complaint, you'll be reviewed for the next steps and walked through that. Last year, just a reminder, 468 people were affected. And so you'll want to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of in that way. If you don't want to report to the Seattle Office of Labor Standards, you can also contact LGBTQ allyship and let us know. We're happy to help you navigate that system and make sure that you are not being violated as a worker. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at LGBTQ or Taylor at LGBTQ allyship. And you'll want to make sure that your rights are always being cared for. And if you want to advocate for your rights and other workers' rights, please come join us. We are going to be doing some more education, but we also want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on in your workplace, or maybe you know somebody else, and we want to know what's going on so that we can support you and make sure that your worker rights are being taken seriously. So again, thank you. My name is Taylor, and you can reach me at taylor@allyship.org if you have any questions.